ask me if I give a fuck about man. Recently I just don't give a fuck about a thing. Ask me if I give a fuck about it this. Ask me if I give a fuck.
Good afternoon, criminophiles. Welcome back to Homicide Cases. I'm your host, Misfit, and I'll be your guide through the American serial killer files. Today, we'll be opening the file on Charles Michael Albanese, an American serial killer with 3 known victims. Albanese was born on June 13, 1937 in Chicago, Illinois. He was the oldest son of businessman Michael Sr. and Clara Albanese. Little is known about his childhood, but family friends would report that Albanese was a spoiled brat who always wanted to be a big shot, an ambitious young man who wanted to earn as much money doing as little work as possible. During the mid-1960s, he worked as a car salesman for Norwood Motors Incorporated, based out of Morton Grove, Illinois. In 1965, Albanese's wife divorced him and took their 3 daughters and moved to Wisconsin. At some point, he married his second wife, though not much is known about their relationship. In 1972, while still legally married to his second wife, Albanese went on to marry Virginia Mueller in Las Vegas during the Labor Day weekend. The divorce from his second wife was finalized in mid-1973. His second ex-wife would go on to file 2 complaints against him. In 1977, she filed for non-payment of child support in the amount of $1,475 in McHenry County. In 1980, she filed for non-support of a person in Chicago. In 1978, Albanese and his family moved to Spring Grove, Illinois, where he earned a reputation among his neighbors as a man who liked to flaunt his wealth and influence. He owned several expensive cars, including a Cadillac, and always took his wife and 2 daughters to either Marco Island in Florida or Jamaica. On February 1, 1965, Albanese and an unidentified accomplice, posing as detectives, broke into the house of 61-year-old Emmett Farrell, an employee of the Chicago Transit Authority, and stole $160 from him. A week later, acting on information from Farrell's neighbor, who wrote down Albanese's license plate number, he was arrested and identified as one of the intruders by Farrell himself. Not long after, Albanese was indicted by a grand jury for armed robbery. Albanese was also indicted on several counts of auto theft, which he committed under the alias of Charles Romaine. Albanese was convicted and sentenced to 5 years probation. In mid-1980, Albanese began to pay frequent visits to the Leisure Village retirement community in Fox Lakes, Illinois, where his wife's mother, 69-year-old Marion Mueller, and grandmother, 87-year-old Mary Lambert, lived. During his visits, he would often bring little gifts like jewelry or trinkets. He would often dine with them whenever he could. Albanese gradually convinced Lambert to transfer all her assets to her daughter Marion, bypassing her other daughter and son. Albanese then contacted the owner of a metal plating company, to whom he would sometimes sell scrap zinc to, and asked what would be the most efficient method to get rid of pests in his home. Albanese was supplied arsenic and instructed on how to use it. Both Mueller and Lambert became sick with diarrhea and vomiting and rushed to the hospital, where they soon passed away. This sparked concerns that the water or food at the retirement community was tainted. The Lake County Health Department conducted a full-scale investigation into the water, sewage, and restaurants in the community. With all their tests coming back negative, the case was closed and life soon returned to normal. Not long after the passing of Lambert and Mueller, Albanese attended a meeting with his father on September 4th, 1980, during which an argument broke out between the two, with Michael Sr. saying he no longer wanted Charles in the family business. A few days later, Michael Sr. changed his stance and simply demoted Charles to treasurer. Albanese, in an apparent attempt at reconciliation, began bringing homemade cookies to his father at work, as well as snacks to his younger brother. Just 4 days after bringing in the cookies and snacks, Michael Jr. was hospitalized for severe vomiting and nausea. In the following months, both Michael Sr. and Michael Jr. were both hospitalized on several occasions due to violent illnesses. Michael Sr. would succumb to the illness, with Michael Jr. eventually recovering from the illness. Albanese would inherit his $267,373 estate, as well as tighter control in the family business. While conducting the autopsy on Michael Sr., the McHenry County coroner, Alvin Auerhammer, noticed traces of arsenic in his serum. He then contacted the coroner for Lake County, Robert H. Babcock, who had investigated Mueller's and Lambert's death the previous year, after realizing that they were connected to the Albanese family. With a task force spread across 2 counties, each coroner was granted permission by Virginia Albanese to exhume and test her relatives' bodies. Tests on both Mueller and Lambert came back positive for arsenic. After this discovery, the McHenry Police Chief, George Passanelli, ordered a background check on all of the Albanese family members. As they dug deeper into his history, they uncovered his criminal record, possible motives, and the fact that he had been sold arsenic by the metal plating operator. In the process, the task force learned through a travel agent that Albanese had planned another holiday trip to Jamaica for Thanksgiving, on which he would be accompanied by his wife and his mother, Clara. Fearing that Albanese would target his mother due to her wealth amounting to $500,000, the investigators arrested him at his office in McHenry on November 18, 1981. He was charged with 3 counts of homicide, 1 count of attempted homicide, and stealing from the company stock. Mary was the grandmother to Virginia Albanese, Charles Albanese's wife. She passed away on August 6, 1980, initially attributed to acute gastroenteritis, but was later definitely identified as a homicide by arsenic poisoning. At 87 years old, she became one of several victims in Albanese's scheme. Acute gastroenteritis can sometimes mask poisoning due to similar symptoms. Mary would frequently attend dinners at the Albanese residence. She lived with her daughter Marion Mueller, another poisoning victim of Albanese. She also had another daughter and son. Albanese had claimed neither Marion nor Mary had anything to drink during the dinner, despite Mary having been working in a yard for several hours before attending Sunday dinner at the Albaneses. Marion was Charles Albanese's mother-in-law and daughter of Mary Lambert. She passed away on August 18, 1980, again from an apparent acute gastroenteritis, which was later discovered to be arsenic poisoning. She was 69 at the time of her passing. Marion accompanied her mother to Sunday dinner. The dinner was Polish sausage served family style from the same plate, so the poison had to be ingested by another source. Michael Sr. was the father of Charles. He was one of 3 stockholders and executive officers of Allied Die Casting Corporation, a family business making trophies and loving cups, along with his 2 sons, Charles and Michael Jr. After an argument and an apparent attempt at reconciliation, Charles began bringing him homemade cookies and spiked his milk with arsenic. Michael Sr. passed away in early 1981. Not much is known about Michael Jr., except he was one of the 3 stockholders in his father's business, and the brother of serial killer Charles Albanese. Michael Jr. was the only poisoning survivor. Charles would bring his brother snacks laced with arsenic in an attempt to get his shares in the company. As 2 of the 3 homicides were in different jurisdictions, it was decided that Charles would be tried in 2 separate trials. One in Lake County for the homicides of Lambert and his father and the attempted homicide of his brother, and the other in McHenry County for the homicide of Mueller. The first would be the Lake County trial, in which he pleaded innocent to all charges. Due to pre-trial publicity, the trial was moved to Bloomington and was scheduled for May 1982. After deliberating for just over 7 hours, the jury found Albanese guilty on all counts on May 18th. The prosecutor sought the death penalty, saying that despite the lack of serious criminal history, he deserved the death penalty due to his lack of remorse. 2 days later, Albanese was sentenced to death in the electric chair. As his sentence was read by the judge, he showed no emotion and appeared tired. That same October, Albanese was transferred to Lake County to stand trial for Mueller's homicide. In spite of his claims that either his brother or a random stranger was actually responsible for the homicides, as well as his lawyer's unsuccessful attempt to dismiss the charges due to circumstantial evidence, Albanese was convicted of her homicide on October 26th. A few days later, he was again sentenced to death. Albanese also received a 60-year sentence for the attempted homicide of his brother and 5 years for 2 counts of theft. In the following years, Albanese attempted to have his sentence appealed and convictions overturned, but all of them were denied. On September 20th, 1995, he was executed by lethal injection at the Statesville Correctional Center, continuing to protest his innocence and accusing the authorities of covering up the facts in his case. Albanese made no final statement, but said thank you to the warden. Thank you for watching, and I would greatly appreciate a follow and subscribe. Join me next time when I'll open a file on Rodney Alcala, the match game killer. Until then, stay safe.